Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
Glad to have with us live in the studio this morning, Dave Snyder from the Alfred Sun. Dave, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for the opportunity of being here, Brian.
Well, it's the 135th anniversary today of the Alfred Sun. Tell us the headline on your newspaper.
Well, it says, Happy Anniversary, Baby. And it was Frank Crum who was working for the Sabbath Recorder printing establishment, which was in Alfred at that time, back in 1883. And he got the idea of starting a newspaper. He was all of maybe 20 years old. And he was with the paper from 1883 until 1951. So he put in 68 long years of publishing the newspaper.
What do you know about Frank?
Well, Frank grew up in Brookfield, New York, up in Madison County, and he grew up really during Civil War times. And so at that time, with all of the losses in the Civil War, young men were encouraged to fill in the void that was left in the local community. So he went to work at a print shop in Brookfield, the Brookfield Courier, at the age of 14, and he was trained by a Frank Spooner. Frank Spooner was all of 18 years old, and so he learned the printing business there in Brookfield. And Brookfield being a Seventh-day Baptist community, much like Alfred, so there was that connection to Alfred, and eventually he moved to Alfred to work for the Sabbath Recorder printing outfit.
All right, Dave Snyder, tell us about yourself. How'd you get into the newspaper business?
Well, I grew up reading the Evening Tribune, and my favorite column was As We See It by Johnny Nelson. And
Johnny Nelson, I remember him. He used to call the station here when I was in high school.
Johnny Nelson
Give us some sports reports from Alfred.
He was the best. He was a sports information director and really helped to put Alfred on the map because he had a real gift on telling a story. And I grew up on that, and I was always an Alfred football fan right after my dad. My dad started going to games when he was 9 years old. He's missed maybe 3 games since then, home games, and he's 91 years old right now. But I grew up reading As We See It in the Evening Tribune, and I thought, that's what I'd like to do. I want to be a sports writer. So I went to Morrisville College, which, hindsight, it's in Madison County where Frank Crum got his training. And I went to Morrisville College and got a 2-year degree in journalism. And right when I was about to graduate, the Alfred Sun, which there'd been an eclipse, a 3-year eclipse of the Alfred Sun where it wasn't published for 3 years. And it was started up again with volunteers by Gary Horowitz, and he was the former mayor of the village of Alfred. And they were looking for a managing editor. So I graduated on a Sunday, and I went to interview for the position of managing editor of the Alfred Sun on a Wednesday, and started work the next day. And it was something where I thought, well, I could do this until a real job came along. So I guess I'm still waiting for that real job to come along. I've been at it ever since.
Wow, that's great. That's terrific. What year was this now?
That was 1976 when I graduated from Morrisville and started working for Gary Horowitz.
That's terrific. We're talking with Dave Snyder today from the Alfred Sun. It's the 135th anniversary of the Alfred Sun. And as you see, there's a few additions there in the studio. Dr. Heineman and Dr. Ostrower and Dr. Waddy will go through those before the show starts. I see Jim Palmer's picture on one. You do that thing where you have people
Well, Brian, it's interesting because that kind of started as a joke back in 1994.
The idea of having listeners or viewers, readers.
Exactly. They have their
photos.
picture taken reading the Alfred Sun in exotic places. It started as a joke. If you've ever been to Epcot Center, you know that you can travel to every nation in the world practically if you just go around the circle there at Epcot Center. So some friends of mine took an Alfred Sun, and I asked them, I said, why don't you pose in each of the nations, and then we'll run a series of photos of you like traveling with the Alfred Sun. And so we did that, and when we got done, it was like 6 or 8 weeks, and I kind of tried to fool the readers thinking, oh wow, this newspaper is read worldwide. Well, and then I said it was really at Epcot Center, which they probably figured out. But then I started getting these photographs of people reading the Alfred Sun in all these places. I really didn't know what to do with them. And I had probably a dozen of them, and I said, you know what? It was the beginning of in January, I think it was, I decided to incorporate it into my front page. And I thought, well, I can do that for about 12 weeks. Brian, since 1994, I think there's only been a couple weeks when I didn't have a new photo to put on the cover of the Alfred Sun.
A new picture of somebody.
They're sent to me all the time.
That's terrific. We're talking.
It's a lot of fun. And the one from Jim Palmer. Now, Jim Palmer used to have Crandall's Jewelers.
Oh, yeah. We remember Jim well here.
And he happens to be my uncle, so this all goes back to family. I'm about a third or fourth generation Alfredian, and so my grandfather was the superintendent of buildings and grounds at Alfred University. My mother worked there for 30 years, so I'm pretty deeply rooted in Alfred, you might say.
And he's down. So your uncle Jim Palmer is down in Florida.
He's in Avon Park, Florida.
For some time.
Still gets the Alfred Sun delivered down there to him. And,
that's too nice. That's too nice. So you cover all kinds of great stories there in your weekly newspaper, the Alfred Sun, which comes out every Thursday, and today is Thursday.
Thursday, December 6th, and 135 years ago today was the first issue of it. You know, I have a lot of contributors to the paper. I like to say that the paper is of the community, by the community, and for the community, because I've got Sherry Volk does a photo column each week called Scene About Alfred. I've got a sports columnist that's been with me since right from my beginnings with the Alfred Sun. Doug LaRoe does the Dugout. And there's just a lot of columnists that contribute to the paper that kind of make it what it is. It truly is a community newspaper. If it weren't for the contributions of so many people in the Alfred community, it wouldn't be what it is.
Yeah, terrific paper. You now you don't have a website, but you do have a Facebook page.
I do have a Facebook page, and
I'm on it right now.
You're on it right now. Oh boy, it's probably blowing up with happy birthdays.
Yes, from Dick Stewart and Jeremy Price, Joanne Phillipson, all kinds of people wishing you
the funny thing about that Facebook page is that's set up not necessarily as a business Facebook page. It's set up, and I may get in trouble with this, but it's set up as like a personal Facebook page, and that's why everybody's wishing the Alfred Sun a happy birthday today. And ironically, the name of the sun, the Alfred Sun, it could be a Chinese name, legit. And so I used to get mail from Chinese outfits trying to sell me things, and it was all addressed to Mr. Alfred Sun. So, you know, those things happen, I guess. But I really didn't know how to respond. But Facebook hasn't caught me yet, you know.
Well, we won't tell Zuck about that.
Okay.
All right, we're going to take a quick break talking to Dave Snyder from the Alfred Sun. It's their 135th anniversary. Take a quick break. We'll check the forecast in a minute here about how things are going in Buffalo this morning. Stay with us.
Traveling to doctor's appointments can be time-consuming and sometimes overwhelming. At St. James, we're changing that by moving most of our outpatient services to one location. Starting the week of December 10th, you can go to one place and find many services, like urgent care, primary care, X-ray, and lab services. The new medical office building in Hornell will be the new home for many of your outpatient needs. Located at 7309 Seneca Road North in Hornell. Part of UR Medicine.
Want your vehicle looking just like it did when you drove it out of the dealership? Then stop by RBS Auto Detailing on Canastillo and Pine Streets in Hornell. RBS Auto Detailing. The before and after photos of your vehicle won't come close to showing the great job they'll do for you. Cleaning, washing, and waxing. They can get your vehicle looking nice and new both inside and out. RBS Auto Detailing on the corner of Canastillo and Pine Streets in Hornell.
Checking in now with meteorologist Rob Carolyn, who says Buffalo's getting hammered right now with snow.
Yeah, they just did about half an hour ago, Brian. There's been a pretty good plume coming off of Lake Erie, and early this morning it was moving through northern Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, southern Erie County, out our way, but the wind direction has shifted now more towards the west, and that has pushed the band up through Buffalo. It's right now snowing very heavily from the city of Buffalo up into northern Erie County, and then out towards Rochester. There's not a lot going on here because we're missing the plume. It's to our north. There's just a few very light flurries kind of drifting in from the, it looks like west around Batavia right now. We will see some sporadic light snows today. It looks like the band may shift back southward later today. That may bring a little bit steadier snow our way. The most we see today is about an inch. We're up to about 35 to 40. Sunrise earlier today, 7:25. It'll set tonight at 4:38. Brian, for tonight, there's going to be some cloudiness around. The lake effect will continue overnight, producing a few flurries and snow showers here. Anywhere from a dusting to an inch may fall. Temperatures tonight are going to be 20 to 25. For tomorrow, lots of clouds, a couple of flurries or snow showers coming in off the lake. Cold day, 25 to 30. Rather cold weather continues to move through the region tomorrow night. We're partly to mostly cloudy, 15 to 20. Weekend looks pretty quiet. Partial sun on Saturday, 25 to 30. We'll see sunshine Sunday, and we're up around 35. Big storm system will be moving through the southeastern United States over the upcoming weekend.
Thanks, Rob. On live this morning with Dave Snyder of the Alfred Sun. Dave, where can we buy the Alfred Sun in Alfred, and where can we buy it elsewhere?
Well, Brian, the Alfred Sun is now available in Dollar General and 7-Eleven, Walmart, Wegmans around the Hornell area, plus the Arkport Surefine. I'm trying to think of any other places. We're also over in Wellsville and Belmont and Andover on newsstands. That's just a recent opening. I didn't really have it on the newsstands around Hornell except for Wegmans. And just now with the scanning, there's a scanning company, Nexus Group, who really opened my eyes and opened the opportunities. So it's now, you can pick it up most anywhere around Hornell.
That's terrific. Now, I'm guessing you'd have a really good sense of this. As far as how many employees are coming into the university and the state and Alfred Almond Central, and you cover news for all three of those schools, Alfred Almond, Alfred State, and Alfred U. So you'd probably have a good sense of how many people are coming in from like Arkport, Canasteel, Hornell.
Well, Brian, I live right on 244 in Tinkertown, and so I can hear, even before I'm up, I can hear the first wave of the grounds crews come in first thing, 6:45, and then your secretaries come in about 8:15, to be in their offices at 8:30. I don't know what the numbers are, but there's a lot of people that work in Alfred. In fact, that road between Alfred and Alfred Station was the first macadam road in Allegheny County, and that was much to the credit of Frank Crum, who wrote numerous editorials about the need to develop that road. And the purpose for developing it initially was so that the terracotta tiles could get to the train station without breaking or falling off the trucks, or, well, actually at that time it wouldn't have been trucks, but the wagons that they hauled them all those terracotta tiles to the train station. So
Wow.
it's yeah.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So you live in the Tinkertown area, and you hear all the cars coming in for early morning. That reminded me of high school summer job. That's right. We did have to be there at 7 for the grounds crew. Which,
sure, they've got to be there first to make sure everybody else can get in, especially with the snowfall in Alfred. It might be raining in Hornell, but it's snowing in Alfred.
Yes, and our meteorologist just talked about how the snow headed to Buffalo. It was heading this way, but the winds changed in the Olean area. Meteorologist Rob Carolyn told us. How much? I know that the Buffalo News tends to cover a lot of news in Allegheny County. Do you ever feed them stories, or is there any communication between you and the Buffalo News?
The problem, Brian, is that I'm not a full-time reporter.
Oh, you're doing everything. You're like Andy Griffith there. The Andy Griffith
I am
show.
I call myself the editor, the publisher, and the janitor because pretty much I'm doing it all. And then I also work at Alfred University at Herrick Library as a public services coordinator, and so I do the Sun by day, and I moonlight at the Herrick Library at night, working with the college students and helping them with research papers and what have you. So I don't have a whole lot of time to devote to
feeding things to Associated Press and the Buffalo News and whatnot, right?
Yeah, there's just I'm kind of the jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to the newspaper. But one of the things, though, that I am a member of the New York Press Association and attend their conferences, and have learned a lot over the years. But one of the interesting things is I've got a policy with the newspaper where I publish obituaries free of charge, which is anymore that's most newspapers are making good money from publishing the obituaries. And I choose not to do that because I think it's probably one of the big draws of a newspaper is to read the obituaries. And, much like Mark Twain, you want to read the paper to make sure that you hadn't died the night before. But so I have a lot of obituaries in the paper. And I look at it as being a historic document, and the Alfred Sun is people will in future years will go back and read those obituaries for historic research.
Sure thing. We're talking to Dave Snyder of the Alfred Sun. It's their 135th anniversary today. Getting back to your Facebook page, I see you have that story from the New York State DOT about the work being done on Baker's Bridge, routes 21 and 244 in Alfred Station there.
Yeah, when you talk about the traffic coming in and out of Alfred every day, Brian, believe it or not, we have a rush hour, and that bridge being out presently, being reconstructed, has caused kind of when you're going out of Alfred in the afternoon, because that bridge isn't there, people coming into Alfred from Andover way, from the south side of Route 21, they have to turn into the area where all of the traffic is coming out of Alfred, and so that creates a bottleneck, and so we're certainly not Los Angeles, but we have the smaller version of bottleneck traffic, and because of that bridge being out. But it's been delayed because of I understand that some of the utility lines, it was a little more difficult to replace, and the weather certainly hasn't been conducive to doing a lot of bridge construction.
Dave Snyder, when I think of big stories over the years in Alfred, and I'm sure you must have a lot of memories of this, one of the biggest stories of the late 20th centuries in Alfred was, and this will a lot of people will remember this phrase out there, the bump, the dump saga.
Absolutely, yeah. Great story.
Was it Governor Mario Cuomo who wanted to put the waste dump in Allegheny County, or what was his?
Well, it was they established a siting commission, and I think it all started in the feds where South Carolina had a nuclear dump, and the feds said, you know what, the transporting all this stuff is not a good idea. And so the states were responsible for the taking care of their own nuclear waste, and so the state of New York set up a siting commission, and they figured out these remote areas would be probably the safest place to put a nuclear dump site, and so Allegheny County residents rose up and said, no. We don't want the nuclear waste here, and there's a book out on it. And
the book is
My Name is Allegheny
Arms.
County.
The documentary was My Name is Allegheny County.
Yes,
which I guess is out on YouTube this year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. We have all of the documents.
Were you quoted or interviewed for these projects?
No. I was like I've said, I was doing two jobs at the time. And,
Sure.
I wasn't out on the site doing any reporting, but certainly it was a big part of the Alfred Sun coverage at that time, and we had people from the movement who would report to the Alfred Sun what was happening.
I know that our frequent guest, Gary Ostrower, is mentioned in the Linked Arms book because I've read parts of that book online where they have segments of the book that you can read on the internet.
Sure. And it's interesting because working at Herrick Library, we have all the archived materials for that movement, the bump, the dump. And so we've got all the videos and all of the stuff that was ever documented on that fight.
That's terrific. We've been talking with Dave Snyder from the Alfred Sun. It's their 135th anniversary today. Dave, tell us again where you can pick up the Alfred Sun and how you get it if you want to subscribe.
Well, the subscription is $35 a year. You can just mail a check to the Alfred Sun, Alfred, New York, 14802, and together with your mailing address, and we can get you started. It's $35 for 1 year, $65 for 2 years, which is a significant savings off the $2 per copy newsstand price. But if you want to just kind of take a look at it, see if it's something you want to subscribe to, it's available at 7-Eleven, Walmart, Wegmans, Dollar General, and so it's out there on the newsstands.
Dave Snyder, I want to thank you so much for stopping in today.
Thank you for the opportunity, Brian.
It's AM 1480 WLEA Hornell.
Well, here's a shocker.